What is up, besties? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Scotty Holiday. I'm a queer creator and a huge Star Wars nerd, so if you're into either one of those things, please consider subscribing for more. The Mandalorian is finally back for Season 3, and today I'll be reviewing the premiere episode, Chapter 17, The Apostate. But before we get into my review, please like this video and leave a comment letting me know your thoughts on the episode. I'm putting out weekly episode reviews for Mando Season 3, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out. You can check out all my Mandalorian content at the link in the cards and the description as well. Now, let's get into this review. In the opening scenes of the episode, we see the armorer forging a new Mandalorian helmet and presenting it to a child in a ceremony, most likely inducting them into the Children of the Watch as a Mandalorian foundling. At the beginning of the ceremony, we can see two banners, one with the sigil of Clan Vizsla and another with the Mythosaur skull. The ceremony is interrupted when a large creature emerges from the water, attacking the Mandalorians out of nowhere. Despite their numbers, the Children of the Watch struggle trying to take down the beast, but just when it seems like all hope is lost, we see Mando's N1 starfighter swoop in, taking out the creature and saving the day. Mando's entrance was super epic, and the music in this scene was amazing as well. This entire sequence felt like a callback to the first episode of Season 2, The Marshal. After landing, Mando goes to meet with the armorer to discuss his redemption. Immediately she tells him that he's no longer a Mandalorian since removing his helmet, and you would think she would want to thank him for saving all their lives from the creature's attack, but she chooses to chastise him instead. Din tells her that the creed teaches redemption, and I was really surprised to see him kind of stand up to her in this moment. It definitely shows us just how much he's grown since Season 1. The armorer tells Din that redemption isn't possible after Mandalore's destruction during the Purge, but he counters her claim, presenting a shard with Mandalorian inscriptions that he acquired from Jawas, proving that the mines in the living waters of Mandalore may still be accessible after all. Din tells the armorer as long as he's able to prove that he bathed in the living waters, by creed, the decree of the exile should be lifted and he should be redeemed. Then after a long moment, she tells him this is the way. These first scenes with the Children of the Watch and Mando prove that he could be very valuable to them. He literally saves them from a creature they couldn't take down on their own, but regardless, the armorer holds onto the strict traditions of her cult almost in an arrogant way, keeping her from looking past the rules and seeing how much of a leader Din has become. I wonder if it's almost like some sort of power struggle for her, but only time will tell. From here, Din and Grogu travel to Nevarro, but on their way, Grogu notices a herd of Purrgil traveling through hyperspace around them. This actually marks the first live-action appearance of the Purrgil, and it was a really amazing moment to see as a fan of Star Wars Rebels, where they were first introduced. This scene also hints at the return of Grand Admiral Thrawn, and more specifically, Ezra Bridger. I imagine the Purrgil will look completely terrifying when we eventually see them up close, and I'm actually so excited for that moment. Once they arrive on Nevarro, we really get to see its true glow-up since Season 1 and 2, donning the new nickname, Gem of the Outer Rim, which is definitely fitting. As Din and Grogu walk through the city, we see a lively market with shops, food stands, music, and even see children playing in the streets. I love seeing a kitchen droid at one of the stands as well, that we first saw in Episode 2 Attack of the Clones, and then again in the Book of Boba Fett. Once they make their way into the city center, Din and Grogu meet with Greef Karga, who's also had quite the glow-up. He went from a member of the Bounty Hunters Guild to High Magistrate of Nevarro, now dressing in ornate robes, with little droids even carrying his train in tow. As he and Mando discuss Nevarro's changes, Greef brags that the planet is now an official trade spur of the Hydian Way, which is the only super hyper route to span the entire Star Wars galaxy, connecting trade from the Outer Rim, Mid, and Core worlds. As he continues to discuss Nevarro's prosperity, Greef gives Din an offer to settle down on the planet, but of course, Din declines, explaining his mission for redemption, but their conversation is interrupted by the announcement of pirates in the courtyard. Greef and Mando confront the pirates with their leader, Vane, explaining they were denied entrance to a bar that was built with Greef's cut of their boss, the Pirate King Gorian Shard's treasure. I guess Vane and the other pirates feel like they have some sort of claim to the building since they work for Shard, but Greef tries to take them back to his office instead, explaining the building is now a school. I'm not sure if Gorian Shard has some sort of rule over this portion of the Outer Rim, or if Greef Karga made a deal with him in the past, or maybe they're just alluding to his prior ways as a part of the Bounty Hunters Guild, but I'm sure we'll find out at some point in the season. Vane and Greef come to a standoff, with Greef disarming Vane and Mando taking out the rest of the pirate crew. This all leads to Greef explaining his need for a new marshal after Cara Dune was recruited by Special Forces, but once again, Mando references his mission, asking to reclaim IG-11, since he needs a droid he can trust to help him explore Mandalore. Mando attempts to get what's left of IG-11 back online, but after powering up, the droid defaults back to its old programming, trying to eliminate Grogu in a sequence that felt right out of a horror movie. Afterwards, Greef takes Din, Grogu, and what's left of IG-11 to the best droid smiths of the Outer Rim, a pack of Anzellans. The Anzellans were first introduced in Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, with the droid smith Babu Frick. After a pretty funny sequence of Din and Grogu in the tiny shop, the Anzellans make a deal with Din, saying the only way they can fix the droid is if he can come by a new memory circuit, a part that's no longer made and extremely hard to find, but Din insists he'll find it for them. From there, Din and Grogu leave Navarro in the N1, only to be stopped by Vane and the same pirate gang from earlier in a nearby asteroid field. A dogfight ensues, but Mando is able to outmaneuver the pirates' fighters, picking them off one by one until only Vane is left. Vane leads Din to Gorian Shard's flagship, and we get our first encounter with the Pirate King. Shard orders Din to surrender, but Din uses the N1's boosters to fly off, escaping Shard's target lock. This sequence was really fun to watch, even for someone who isn't super big into dogfights, and it looked amazing, along with all the other creatures and aliens in this episode. Afterwards, we follow Mando and Grogu to another planet, Kalevala, as Din points out a Mandalorian castle on the cliffs below. Kalevala was first mentioned in the Clone Wars series, but this actually is the first time we've ever seen it on screen. The planet also happens to be the homeworld of Bo-Katan and her family, House Kryze. Once they land, Din and Grogu make their way inside the castle, approaching Bo-Katan in the throne room. Din tells Bo he's come to join her to retake Mandalore, but she says there's nothing left to join, informing Din that her forces and fleet are scattered, going off to work as mercenaries after she returned without the Darksaber. Of course, she asks Din if he still has the Darksaber, and when Din informs her he does, she says, "Then you lead them. Wave that thing around and they'll do whatever you say." Bo basically tells Din he's too late, explaining that the Children of the Watch and the other factions that came before are what tore the Mandalorians apart, to the point where now there's nothing left of their planet to retake. Both the Armorer and Bo tell Din that Mandalore has been poisoned, and Din picks up on this, reminding Bo that she said the curse was a lie, telling her to make up her mind. But in the end, she tells Din to go if he insists, explaining how to access the mines under the city of Sundari, and after Din thanks her, the episode ends as he and Grogu head back out to the ship. When Din tells Bo his intentions of going to Mandalore to redeem himself, she literally says, "You are a fool," and I have to agree with her. Mando's looking at the heiress of Mandalore, who freely removes her helmet as she pleases, yet he continues to follow the rules of his cult as if there's only one way to be a Mandalorian. Din doesn't need to be redeemed for removing his helmet because he didn't do anything wrong. He doesn't need the support of the Armorer and the Children of the Watch. He's grown past them at this point. He literally holds the Darksaber, making him leader of all Mandalorians according to their history, but because of his past and his trauma, the way is all he knows and why he insists on completing his journey to Mandalore to atone. Bo is super apathetic in her scenes with Din, and I get it. She's basically lost everything at this point, and that's exactly why she's given up on Mandalore, and maybe even herself. On top of Din's character growth from season 1 and wanting to see him move on from the Children of the Watch, I really want to see Bo grow and rise to be the leader she's always meant to be as well. We see a glimpse of it in Rebels, and I think she can get back there even without the Darksaber. Like Din and his helmet, Bo believes the only way she can lead her people and reclaim Mandalore is by wielding the Darksaber, but I really hope we see both her and Din move past the saber and the helmet in this season and learn to work alongside one another in the process. But what did you think of Chapter 17, and what are your predictions for the rest of Season 3? Let me know in the comments below, or hit me up on Twitter so we can chat more about it together. I'm putting out weekly episode reviews for Mando Season 3, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out. You can catch up with all my Mandalorian videos at the link in the description and on the end screen of this video as well. Please consider checking them out and leaving a like. I really appreciate all of your support. To keep up with all my Star Wars content, make sure to subscribe and consider following me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Scotty Holiday SW for all my latest updates. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, may the Force be with you.